Soul Grows in Israel, a podcast where we ask the questions about ancient Jewish wisdom, modern life, and everything in between. So let's ask, let's have fun, and let's grow together. Hello to all my growing soul listeners. Welcome to not just another episode of A Soul Grows in Israel. This is real time. I had some scheduled programmed content, and maybe we'll get to part 2 and do it. But I couldn't not record a quick episode to let you know what's going on right now in Israel, whether you live here or abroad. I just had to share what I've been going through or what we collectively have been going through because it is a major moment in the world, in Jewish history, and most definitely for us here in Israel on a macro and micro level. So I just wanted to give you maybe some chizuk. I think giving chizuk gives me chizuk, and what chizuk really means is just words of strength and inspiration to continue forward with as little fear as possible, maybe. And I mean, look, there's normal reactions, and we'll get into all of it. But I always feel like carrying on and living life and laughing and being responsible is just the best revenge. So I hope you're into it. And I definitely have a lot to say. So let's just jump right in and I'll give you just our perspective or our experience in the previous week and right now. Okay, so today's Sunday. I'd like this episode to, as always, come out on Monday. So it's really pretty close, like live breaking news, what's going on in Israel. And if you've been living under a rock, Israel has preemptively attacked Iran. This is not a current events or a political podcast. This is a spiritual podcast, and I don't see the difference. What's going on today is the ancient Jewish story, Bayamim Hahem Bazman Hazeh, then and now, and it kind of feels like you're living through one of those books on a shelf called Navi, Prophets, Torah. It's happening as we speak, and I think since the creation of Israel, that's been the story. Okay, so let's get just like regular. Look, what was my week like last night? Hope you guys are interested. I find it to be a little interesting. So I'm going to go back to Wednesday. And my husband just told me in passing, like stuff with Iran might go down. And I heard it in one ear and out the other based on the years we've been having since October 7th, or based on the years we've been having since COVID, maybe. Like things have almost been off kilter here and there. And you almost don't blink when you hear something unusual might happen. At least I don't. So I heard it. It's possible, fake news, real news, whatever. And Wednesday, my husband and my oldest son are scheduled to go to America for a much longer time than I've ever been used to. And I am a big fan of independence, having space, coming back together with your spouse or your family and missing them more. I'm also a big talker because it was like 6 or 7 a.m. and I walked into the car, suitcases and whatever. And I sort of did the thing. I like wave as they pull away and I felt the tears. And instead of sort of swallowing it, I turned to my other son, who's like kind of tall and barrel chested. And I kind of collapsed. And I wasn't sobbing, but I was definitely crying. Like, I'll miss them so much. It's been such a long time. And then I got sort of this mischievous gleam in my eye. And I said, we're going. You want a road trip? And he's like, what? And I said, well, over the past, I would say 10 years, for about 1 week a month, I fantasized about getting a dog. And then I talked myself out of it. Do I need an extra responsibility? Is it irresponsible to have a dog if you're not willing to put in the time and the love? And I don't want to be cruel to an animal. Now, I want to rewind for a minute. My youngest son's birthday in October, he really loves animals. And he said, I really want a dog and whatever. We had the conversation. I think it's too much for our family. And he got a really cute, well, I'm not going to say really cute, a very pretty looking with a nasty attitude cockatoo. And it's not like it's a bird that had a nasty attitude. It was just a bird. He always told me it's a bird. It doesn't necessarily want human contact. You could train it, but it's going to hiss at you. And we sort of enjoyed watching my son interact with this animal because he does love them so much. But traumatically, I saw my security cameras. A cat got hold of my bird while he was outside. And because my bird's wings were clipped, instinct meant that the bird flies away from the cat, but instead my bird landed in front of the cat. I don't want to get into it. It was so gruesome, but the cat takes it and shakes it and takes it over the fence. I mean, it was a thing. Long story short, my bird succumbed to its injuries. I don't mean to laugh, but on Shavuot night, the holiday, and I came downstairs and my husband wrapped up the bird in a shoebox and put one of my beautiful flowers on it. We had these peonies that were pink and in full bloom. And then on Motzei Tif, when the Chag comes out, when the holiday is over, we had a little funeral. And then I heard my youngest say, "All right, we need a new bird." And I was like, "What? Wait, what?" And my oldest said, "Not just one bird. Like, why should he be lonely? We'll get two birds." And that's when I was like, I'm not doing this again. And I'm not doing a double time with a bird. Like, maybe we should just do a dog. Maybe we should do a puppy. And my kids were kind of like, "Mom, you always do this. You always want to get a dog. And then you're like obsessed on the internet, on YouTube, looking at puppies, whatever." And so I kept it in because I was like, I don't want to lead them off the path and like tease them, you know? Anyway, fast forward again, we're back to Wednesday. And I looked at my son and I said, "I think we're doing it." I mean, I've been covertly researching all sorts of breeds, and I sort of got hooked on this Cavapoo, which is small. I'm someone who said I would never get a small dog. If I'm getting a dog, it's going to be big and cool, and that's why I stopped myself from purchasing a dog because it's really not practical, not for like who I am. I'm just being realistic. I think dogs are beautiful. I think horses are beautiful, but I'm not buying a horse, you know. So I sort of compromised to myself, and I was like, okay, let's just do this. It's so pretty, and I only have boys. What if we get a girl? And then I'm scouring the internet and which breeders are shady, which ones are real. And my friends are giving me pep talks. My sister's like, "You can do this." And my husband's like, "I don't know, just don't do it when I'm around. It's too much." And okay, my husband's car pulls off and me and my son jump into the car. First stop, pet store. Now, mind you, I don't know that I'm getting a dog yet. We have an appointment at a breeder. It's about an hour south of where I live, in a moshav, like one of these little villages, little neighborhoods. And I told my son, if we get a good vibe and we like what we see, we're coming home with a puppy. If we don't, we'll have a trunk full of dog supplies. I don't know, maybe we'll return it. Maybe we'll just save it for a future date. I had a plan B also, other puppy that I saw a picture of. And okay, okay, we get the stuff. We're loading up on equipment without knowing if we're going to come home with anything. And we've got the cages and the toothpaste that, I mean, fragrance, you name it, we've got it. And then we drive. And first of all, I mean, you tell me what you guys think, but when I drive one on one, especially with one of my kids or my spouse or a really good friend, it's like non interrupted, real bonding time. If I don't know someone very well, I actually get anxiety. Like, wait, you want to carpool with me for 2 hours and I don't really know you? Like, I get really uneasy. But when it's someone that I feel really comfortable with, it's like my favorite time because there's so much to talk about. And I love a comfortable silence. I love when I'm not trying to fill holes with conversation. That to me is like, that means I feel safe, you know? So I go with my son and we're talking and we haven't like caught up in a minute and it was really, really nice. And we pull up. It's a beautiful area, beautiful moshav. We get out of the car, we start walking, and I'm talking myself down, thinking this might be a whole scam. And I'm not willing to go into someone's house or someone I don't know alone, like a girl, my husband's in flight. Okay. And I walk in with my son, and I see, I guess, this like large, for lack of better description, it was kind of like a fish tank. Like it was like this big clear box and inside are the cutest little things. They look like real newborn puppies. I saw a white one that was climbing on everyone. I saw beige and white ones, and I spotted the one that the breeder sent a picture to me on my WhatsApp. And I said, "By the way, is that a boy or a girl?" And he said, "That's the girl." And I'm like, done. Like I just felt it. I picked her up and the softest fur, and we did it. We sealed the deal. We signed the contract. He gave us some like formula, which I don't know, dog owners. Is that normal? We got like baby formula. I don't even know. Like chat GPT. Okay. Like, and vets. I've been calling the vet. I've been calling the trainer. We've been doing it. Anyway, we drive home and now my son is driving and I'm holding this little thing and she's crying and she's cuddling and she's falling asleep and I'm falling in love and she's so pretty and she's so pretty and she's so pretty. My husband turns out has Wi-Fi and I'm telling him all this. He's like, "What? You should have win. Oh my God, no. Why didn't you do it yesterday?" Meanwhile, nobody really thought I would do it. I don't even know if anyone wanted me to do it. I FaceTime one of my sons. He can't like speak for like a full on 6 minutes. He's just laughing and like in shock. Like, why'd you get such a tiny dog? Spoiler alert, the same son that was like rolling his eyes is obsessed. He came home from where he learns and he was literally like, I mean, he got like into this dog, cleaning the dog where no one else wanted to, you know, watching her, the whole thing. Okay. We come home, the trainer comes over. this has a lot to do with the story, by the way. I'm not just telling you about my dog adventure, although it's a big deal. I finally had my girl. Oh my gosh, guys, she's so beautiful. I'm gonna start like if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm gonna start like putting pictures up. I also told my kids, you guys always come first. I will never be a pet owner that thinks that this is my actual child. I mean, quasi, but I will always love you guys more. And they're like, yeah, obviously we know. I'm like, okay, it's fine. All right, go to sleep. No big deal. Puppy's up all night crying. We're bleary eyed the next morning, but so happy. And everything she does is another adventure. Kids go to school. I hold her. Regular life. Okay, this is where things get weird. Thursday night, I'm telling my husband I'm going to sleep because, again, they're on American time. And he's like, yeah, but don't like keep your noise machine. Guys, I have like a white noise machine. If I haven't mentioned it like a million times here, I've got a white noise machine. It's loud. He's like, don't keep it on so high. There might be some action in Iran. And again, I was like, I guess I didn't really hear or take it seriously. I've been hearing about this for a while. I've been hoping that something would happen in terms of Israel taking care of business, but who am I? Like, what do I know? Anyway, I go to sleep and I finally go to sleep because the night before I was up with this little puppy and I'm exhausted. And apparently, night two, the trainer was like, good job. You got through the hardest part. Night two is supposed to be so much easier. So I go to sleep and I am in a deep sleep. All of a sudden, I think it's like at 3 in the morning. I hear like almost like a human knock on my window. And you guys, I sleep on the second floor and there's no porch. And I hear like this human knock and I'm like, what is that? And I'm like half asleep. So I close my eye again and then it continues. I'm like, obviously it's like a window pane that I left open. Maybe the window was like slapping against itself, but all my windows are sealed. I'm like, maybe it's a tree branch, but it sounds like knuckles. I'm like so confused. So I decide to peek, but I'm like peeking so carefully. And I look down and I see a man. Oh my God. So I duck below my window pane and I'm like, what? And my heart isn't beating really quickly. I'm not super panicked because I'm still groggy and half asleep, which is such a blessing. I'm like, okay, get it together. I am kind of the man of the house right now. So I open up the window and the guy has like a big like broomstick. He must be using it to bang on my window. And then I look and it's my neighbor. Oh my God. Okay. But now I have something else to be nervous about. I'm like, what's going on? Like, why are you trying to contact me? And it's like, turn on your phone, turn on your phone. Now my Wi-Fi had been down for like 2 days. So that was great. So I'm turning on my phone, waiting for messages to come in. So instead I fly downstairs, I open the door. I'm like, what's going on? Now I got really scared. Like, what if someone I know like passed away? What if someone's trying to reach me and there's an emergency in the States? And, you know, the mind goes places. And instead he said, Esther, the entire Israel is up right now besides for you and your family. I'm like, what? He's like, I ran. To which I said, phew, because I was so I don't know. So he goes, you want to come to my house? I'm like, no, 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 we're okay. We're okay. I turn on my phone. There's like 16 missed calls from my husband. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. So he must have called my neighbor and told him, wake Esther up. Apparently my neighbor said, I'm going to scare her to death. And he's like, that's fine. So it's debatable if that was the right move. Probably was the right move, but didn't feel so good. But again, I didn't full on panic, which is so weird. I guess you surprise yourself by what makes you anxious and what doesn't. So I come inside and my husband's like, wake everyone up. I'm like, I am not waking everyone up. If I hear another siren, by the way, that wasn't even a real siren. You know that Israel sent a siren almost as a warning to everyone in Israel, like something is going down, be alert, almost sleep with one eye open, like get ready. So instead, from 3:30 in the morning till 5 a.m., I kept running up from my basement shelter to my kitchen, back and forth. What else do I need? Ran upstairs, got my laptop, came downstairs. Oh my God, we have a puppy. Dog food, prepare it. Oh my gosh, how much water do we have? Not enough. So I'm filling pitchers with my water filter, coming back up into bed, remembering that I forgot one more thing. Because for all I know, and I'm looking at the news and it seems kind of crazy, for all I know, like, what if we're in a bomb shelter for days, and I'm getting warnings like fill up buckets of water for flushing, like it's getting real. Portable batteries, flashlights, radios, like, okay. Finally, I settle in, I go to bed. We, thank God, all kind of woke up late. And the next day, like it's sort of like hitting you, like what's going on, war, not. And this is Friday. So everyone's home, obviously. And I have to add in like how fortunate I feel, or I know that I am, that I have a shelter in my home. And how many people have to go across the street or go into a school, a public area under stairwells, obviously shared safe rooms, wake up newborn babies. Well, like, thank God. So we set up sort of preemptively, like all of the beds in the basement that are near the basement bomb shelter. So if we do have to venture, it's not very far. You hear an alarm and you have like 5 footsteps to walk. That is a huge blessing. And I'm so thankful for that. And I do have empathy for everyone in situations that are a lot less comfortable and to people who've had really traumatic experiences, you know? When I mentioned that I really wanted to come on here and share this with you, my one of my sons was like, thank God, quite a few, but one of them was like, "Don't make Israel sound like the victim." And I'm like, "Oh, of course, I don't feel that way. No, no, I don't feel like we're victims. I feel like we are warriors, and I feel like we are fighting the world's battle. We're defeating evil on behalf of not just us, but everyone. And it's not the first time. And to me, that's part of, being a light into the nations is taking care of business. We've got a bunch of tools at our disposal. What do we use it for? Not for genocide, not to attack others, despite what the world wants to believe, but really to fight for goodness and light and defeat darkness. I know I'm going to get a bunch of hate from people who are not really my followers, who are anti-Jew trolls, and I welcome it because this is who we are, and we're going to walk with our heads up high. But I digress. Okay, so here we are. It's Friday, and I was supposed to have like some cousins over to swim. Obviously, no one's coming over. We are all staying close because we don't know how many weeks, days, what's going on. Anyway, all of a sudden, I get a message on my phone that says the restriction to stay close to a bomb shelter has been lifted for now. And I felt this rush of, it was a mixture. It was relief, but more than that, like huge pride. I was like, whoa, go Israel, like go army. They have been lobbying missile after missile to overwhelm our system. When I say they, I'm talking about Iran in, you can call it retaliation or whatever, but they've been sending enough missiles to overwhelm our Iron Dome system and I expected at least for there to be a lot of Friday action. And instead I felt kind of like, okay, this is going a lot better than it could, like a lot better. And when those things happen, I guess the closest thing I feel is um, very spiritual. Like I feel like really, really, really thankful and dependent on Hashem, on God, like protecting his people in our homeland. And then I see all these like soldiers and risking their lives, and people are running to donate blood. Like everyone is like together. And I don't like to believe that we only need hardships to bring us together. I don't believe that. I know we could do it without it. But in times like these, like which are dark times or limiting times, it's also the lightest of times. And I feel such pride in our people, in our destiny, what we're called upon to do. It just overwhelms me. And, for the whole night I'm running on adrenaline, all of a sudden I sat back and I exhaled. And I was fortunate enough to have a really nice tefillah, a nice prayer morning. And that doesn't always happen. I don't actually expect to always feel like divinely like inspired every time I open a siddur or prayer book, or every time something great happens. But when I do, I'm thankful for that moment because I'm able to express what's really me, my true self, without layers of numbness or distraction. Like it's really me. And I feel emotional now, even like speaking about it. I'm not a very emotional person. I know I discussed crying when my husband and son left. When it comes to that kind of stuff, I am emotional when it comes to my family. And I'm extremely emotional when it comes to the Jewish destiny, Israel and her people. And wow, I didn't expect to feel like this. But the reason I feel that way is because my grandparents never dreamed that we'd be here because, well, my grandfather was beaten close to death for being a rabbi in the middle of Auschwitz. And for him to imagine that in their merit, I would be here and there would be like Jewish soldiers protecting Jews who have always been vulnerable for like 2000 plus years at the mercy and whim of their host country. I feel so free. I feel so privileged to be here, to be Jewish. And wherever you guys are, if you're playing a role, which means you are loyal to your people and to your homeland, whether you live here or not, we are very, 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 very blessed. Like, how many berries can I add to that? So that was like a real feeling for me. Anyway, so we did a very chill Shabbat. I want when I say pajamas, I don't mean physical pajamas because I do believe in like bringing Shabbat in with respect, but as close to pajamas as possible. Imagine like just a throw-on long dress T-shirt. I ordered sushi. We had some chicken soup. It was low key, and we decided to eat outside. And it wasn't my regular big family because, like I mentioned a million times, my husband and my oldest aren't here. So even though you take two out of the bunch, it feels like everything is like way emptier, in like a weird way, but also in a very easy way. So we had some sushi, did kiddush, very nice. All of a sudden, okay, the meal is coming to an end. I don't even know what time it was. Maybe it was 9 p.m., 10 p.m. And we're eating outside under like my deck, and we have a pergola and lights, and it's really, really beautiful. It looks like, I don't know, Italy or provincial France. Like I love Israel. Okay. Anyway, my shutters start to close and I'm like, guys, our shutters are closing for the house. And we sort of like do a bunch of James Bond. We start rolling running in, grab the food, grab the stuff. Why are my shutters turning off? They're due on a Shabbat clock. They turn off at midnight. And then I looked and I'm like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden my lights started to flicker, like the house was haunted. And I realized the house isn't haunted. My husband, it's not Shabbat for him now. He's in New York. He is sending us messages. I think there's going to be an incoming missile attack. He's trying to tell us things. And my youngest starts doing like dances in front of my cameras because he knows my husband's watching. So we're all like, all right, let's go downstairs. And we go into the safe room. By the way, I have a WhatsApp group that tells you what to do for people who are Shabbat observant. And one of the things that you should do is keep your phone on and you have alerts plugged in. So no matter what your settings are, whether it's sleep or focus or whatever, those warnings will come in. So I have it set that I get a warning a minute and a half before the siren or a few minutes before. And then I have the siren, which is another warning, and then you go in. In the safe room itself, I had my laptop on, and the laptop was on something called Pikud Oref, which is a special computer sort of website for people who are keeping the Shabbat, and they will alert you without you doing anything as to what's going on. So my screensaver doesn't turn on, my screen doesn't get dim. So when we go inside, we actually see what's happening. And it's kind of like a barrage of missiles. Like it's all a blur now because it happened twice afterwards in the middle of the night, but you don't go out right away. You wait till sort of the screen goes blank again, and then you can go back to bed. But in this case, it was still Shabbat time. I went upstairs, I'm loading the stuff into the sink, the lights turn back on. It really feels like there's someone watching me. And in fact, someone was watching me. And of course, one of my kids were like, that's the way it is. Hashem is watching you all the time. I'm like, all right, cool, true. But it definitely felt like a ghost. It was weird. Anyway, so at this point, it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's comical because this is serious. But you know what? The reason I spoke about the dog so much is because this whole time, instead of feeling anxious, like, did you stack the room up? What's going on? And we're obsessed with this dog. Oh, she yawned. It's like having a new baby. Like, oh, look how cute. Look at her tail. And by the way, it's the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life besides for babies. No, really. And I mean, I'm not speaking like a proud mother. Like I sent it out to people. I'm like, be real with me. She's got a tail with a snow little tip tail. She's tiny. She's nice. And it was like a comfort. In Hebrew, there's this pasuk, this verse that says "Refuah lefnei hamaka," which means almost like the healing before you get punched in the gut. And I feel like this dog purchase, little did I know that it would be right before a full-on war. And when I say full-on war, like we're not fighting. We are here, we're civilians, we're home. But you can get into like a space of anxiety and understandably in a space of what's going to happen, darkness, uncertainty, but being distracted by this loving, cute little animal that just needs you so badly, or I mean, I didn't know that this puppy would give me so much. And I didn't know that we'd be going through times like this. So I really feel like it was really part of my small story. And there's a collective huge story. And everyone here who's living in Israel has their own. And some of them are so tragic and some of them are so uplifting and some of them are just day to day, but all of us, it like makes up this huge tapestry of stories that create the Jewish story. um I love that, and that's why I want to be sharing mine with you. And I love to see other people's experiences and opinions, and what are they learning from it, what have they experienced, what do they need to hear, or what do they need to get off their chest. So we had that night. And again, every time we come into this bomb shelter, the way we set it up was I had my youngest two sleeping in the actual Mamad bomb shelter. And we set up this makeshift, I'll also attach a picture. for how the puppy would sleep. It's a cage and a pillow, and we lined up water bottles so she could have freedom but not get into danger. And from what I understand, puppies will cry in the beginning and then they just sort of let it go. So she slept through all of us coming into the bomb shelter, opening this big heavy door, closing the heavy door, and we're just watching her while we hear booms. This is not like child's play. We Things are going down and it's Friday night and we don't really know what's going on. We're not really privy to much information. And again, it's just me and a bunch of kids, but this puppy is just making everything so sweet. Like, I had no idea. So we wake up on Shabbat morning, and then the story sort of continues. All of our synagogues, the shuls are closed down. So people are praying on the road. A lot of people are just staying close to bomb shelters, as you should. I haven't heard of any injuries. It turns out there were. I didn't hear of any deaths. It turns out that there were. But for all I knew, I was in my little bubble of puppy love, if you will, and trying to be responsible and not even trying to be strong. I actually really felt strangely at peace with everything. And I also think that's an aftermath of going through so many hard years here recently. And I think what ends up happening is I thought it was numbness, but I think instead it's a real deep reliance on God. And we shouldn't have to know from suffering to get there. But once we're there, it's kind of like you sort of feel unshakable. And I will say this, I never want to be tested. Ever. Like I can talk the talk, but I don't even know if I could walk the walk, and I don't want to find out. Like I never want to open the door where it's like, teach me how to love more. And then it's like, no, I didn't mean it that way. Like I'm okay. I want to work on things through peace and joy. That's actually one of my main prayers. I want to get closer to Hashem and become more unified with my people, not because I had to learn the hard way, but because I could learn from other people's experiences or learn from Shefa, which is this term that means an outpouring of mostly undeserved kindness from the divine. So, anyway, on Shabbat day, which is Saturday, if we just have the meal and it's a regular Shabbat meal with just us, and there's some singing, which I love. I don't know if everyone at my family loves the singing around the table, but they play ball and it's beautiful. And all of a sudden, and it's a long day, right? And we're not going anywhere. All of a sudden, I get knocks on my door. People found out I had puppies. I had neighbors. I had a whole family of friends. I had my kids' friends. I had a bunch of girls came over, and everyone's trying to pet the puppy. And it was kind of chaos, but in the best way because the day flew by, and it was just talking a little bit about the war, mostly just about this cute dog. That was really nice for everyone. As we speak, can I just add one of my friends who came over? I sent her the number of the breeder, and I think my puppy's sister is about to be delivered to my friend who lives close by. So it might be one big happy family. I'm so excited. Her name is Layla, by the way. I'm not going to say my puppy anymore. Her name is Layla. She has an identity and she's teeny, tiny, tiny. Okay, back to our topic. Another constructive thing we did was we all divided Psalms, the book of Psalms, which is Tehillim. And I saw my WhatsApp groups, everyone was saying, what do you want to say? What do you want to say? And on Friday, I checked Yom Shabbat because the way it works is this book is divided into 7 days, which means you've got a bunch of paragraphs per day. And I wanted to do Yom Shabbat because I knew Shabbat is obviously the day of rest. And I was really feeling that way, but also it would be on Shabbat. And then I took that whole big chunk and I divided it with the 4 kids that we had at home. And they all said it throughout the weekend. And it's another way, wherever you live, also. Prayer is a way to help without really knowing how to help sometimes. And I just really believe in that spiritual force of sending love and hope and blessing to the people on the front, to all the people of Israel, to Jews everywhere. And if I want to zoom out, I would say to humanity for us to have really like peace and for light to really be obvious, not that you have to look for it. And there's this beautiful blessing that I always love when it says, the rulership of evil, may it lose its grip on the world. And that's really a deep one. So we're saying this Tehillim, and I get to a parak, I get to my part, and let me just read it to you. I just looked it up because on Shabbat I couldn't record it, and it really like struck me as, oh, that's beautiful. And that's so apropos to what I'm feeling and to what's going on. Okay, so it's Perek, Kuf Lamed Gimel, which means Psalm 133. And I'm just going to read some of the lines in English. It says, a song of ascent of David. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for our brothers to dwell together, to dwell. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for our brothers to dwell together in unity. So right away, I'm like, unity. That's our secret sauce here, you guys. When we come together, we're unstoppable. And you could talk about it in nature. We're unstoppable, whether it's we're coming together with innovation, ideas, we're coming together to even disagree. Who cares? Coming together to disagree, have conversations, listen to one another, coming together to help each other, coming together with all of our different talents, whether it's high tech, whether it's kollel, whatever, be a mechanic. We're all coming together. That's unity. Unity is a bunch of different parts working together with love. Um, that was already like, okay, but here, listen to this. I'm going to skip a few lines, and this was so beautiful. It is like the dew of the Hermon, okay, descending upon the mountains of Zion. And I imagine there's a bunch of like streams that come up from basically you look up towards the Hermon and there's this ice water, tons of streams going down. And he says poetically to the mountains of Zion, for there the Lord commanded the blessing, life forevermore. Right there, right here where I am, right here where Israel is, it's the pulse. And right there, Hashem commanded life forevermore. And ooh, Zion, strength. This war is about the lion. That's what they named it. It's all not bowing your head in shame, saying, please don't burn me at the stake. Please, no, we're going to do what needs to be done because no one else is doing it right now. And I think that when we use our power for good, the world has respect. They might hate you, whatever, but they have respect. And when we're defenseless, don't forget, on October 8th, when we still didn't have it together and we had no idea what would happen, hate was everywhere. We didn't do it. Like hate was everywhere and we were the victims. When we're weak, we are prey. And again, this is not me being political. And if you disagree, that's cool. But this is at least my perspective. And I need to share my perspective in the most unfiltered way possible because I think that's why you're listening. We're listening to people who are honest, whether they disagree with us or not. So I also want to read to you the end of my prayer, the end of all of our prayers, really, if you say the Aleinu, and this was another moment of chizuk, moment of strength for me, which is something I've been saying since I'm a little girl. But this really yes, this is how I feel. Here we go. Do not fear sudden terror, nor the destruction, because of the wicked. When it comes, they devise a plan, and it will be foiled. Speak a word, and it will not succeed, for God is with us. Again, it almost brings me to tears. It's uh, like, yeah, we have natural fear response. We have adrenaline. We have heart palpitations. We have dark thoughts. We have all the things because we're flesh and blood. But the moment we sort of own it and say, yeah, I feel afraid, and this is all natural. However, I have a deeper seated calmness that dwells within me. And again, may we never be toasted. But it exists because all we have is Hashem. All we have is God. And God gave us the army. Let's go. God gave us the finances for defense. We're doing it. Intelligence, the brains, the trade, the GDP, whatever, the Torah knowledge, the insights, the humanity, the love that exists here. It's contagious. It's amazing. It's bold and it's brave. And the things I see on social media, like, wow, we are some cool people. I am kind of so in love, head over heels for my people, Hashem, and all of our experiences from the ashes of the Holocaust till today, from the temple being destroyed to the final redemption. Like it's all coming. And don't forget, it always says Tatzmiach Yeshua. It's blossoming. It's not going to, I don't know. What do I know? I don't think it's just going to come like a flash in the pan. I think it's been like almost like blossoming. If you could imagine like this lotus or flower opening up slowly. Since the beginning of our exile, it's been opening and blossoming to where we are today, and it continues. And again, how fortunate are we to be here, and how fortunate are we to play an essential role? So what do you do? Right. So yeah, so people are donating blood. People are sending out their loved ones to war. I have messages from, I'm a college teacher on the side, and I have new brides saying that their husbands are out at war and they're afraid and they're proud. And when are they coming home? And I mean, these are warrior men, warrior women, children, sons, fathers, grandparents. Like we are fighting a war that the whole world should be thanking us for. And it's not the first time. I do hope it's the last in the best possible way. I just hope that we're on the cusp of never needing to lift a sword again. But at least we have a sword to lift, and again, go through Jewish history. We didn't. I've read stories of houses burning down in Poland, and the Polish government's rule was to sort of withhold the hoses and not help the Jews living in that village. And I know from my own history, whether it was Russia, like pogroms and taking whatever they wanted. Um, Hungary, like my great grandfather was a war hero. Too bad you're going on the trains like everyone else. Like literally, whatever way the wind blows, we were victims to it. And like I said in the beginning of this podcast, here we are holding our head up high. And these are visions and scenes that Herzl saw when he did this whole trek. It's an amazing book I read. I forgot the title, where he goes on this whole trip across Europe and he sees how the Jews are living, especially in Eastern Europe, and it's just horrific. And then he gets to Israel and he sees, and even though it was really hard and dire, he sees Jews with their head held up high. He sees muscles, he sees independence, and he dreamt of having a state. Now, however you feel about Zionim or anti or irrelevant, this is the dream that we're living today. And there's a place for all of us. There is place for Haredim, and there's a place for secular, and there's a place for people who could care less. There are places for farmers and socialists and capitalists, whatever. There are places for people who are not Jewish who just want to live in peace. Like we celebrate them. I know many people, I have someone very close to me who's a Filipino, and she's like, this is the best country in the world. And I'm like, I agree. And that's not to say that things feel uneasy and tight and hard. And again, there are people who are way, way less fortunate than someone like me who has a mamad in their home. And with that said, I don't take it for granted. But how lucky are we to live here? And I know you guys agree because the numbers of people who make Aliyah during and after wars in Israel is mind-blowing. Like the surge in my synagogue after October 7th happened, it's like so not rational and is just maybe super rational. Maybe it's above logic. It's above logic. And again, that's who we are. We have really defeated the odds over and over again. And here we are. And I just want to end this by saying again, don't be afraid. The best revenge, go swimming, go out for coffee if you live here, be responsible, be near a miklat, obviously. But remember who is watching you and who's got your back. And at the end of the day, nothing is by accident. If you are in Israel, you have been chosen to be here. And if you're in the States or London or wherever you live and you feel like you want to help, prayers, yeah, that helps. Good wishes, check on your friends, post pro-Israel things. Keep Israel in your heart. Keep the Jewish people close to you. And please, please, please be careful. Don't speak ill of Israelis. Don't speak badly about Israel. I think that it releases such scary energy out there. The Meraglim, the hate of the spies back in the desert still reverberates, and it is our kryptonite. And again, our secret sauce is unity, positive thinking, spreading love. And I'm no angel. I have to say that. We all need to work on Shmirat Halashon, watch what we say about other people, especially our brothers and sisters, wherever they are. Do a Mishaberach for the soldiers. Do an act of charity for every soldier, every hostage, every mom who's worried about a soldier, anyone in a miklat, someone who's under a fire escape because they don't know where to go. Like just send love. And then you're not doing nothing. You're doing something huge. We don't know the gravity of a prayer or a good word or some moments of love. So with that said, I pray for the peace and unity of all Klal Yisrael, the whole nation, and may we all come home through peace and happiness. And again, may war just be another page of history, and may we really welcome in a whole new phase of enlightenment and love and revealed goodness. And thanks for listening. And please leave a comment, tell me what you thought, and I hope to speak to you in quieter times next time. Thank you guys.